All right, hardly ho. I'm Rob the Builder. Can we build it? Yes, we can. All right, well. Hello, David, Bassman, and Brian. Hope you guys are well. Sorry about yesterday. Yeah, had a really crappy night's sleep, and then when I finally got to sleep, yeah, alarm. Big Robster says no. Now, today, yeah, we're gonna get further into our detailing on the Stang. There's a bit to do. This we will do. Now, as always, I'm not going to be able to function without the key ingredient. Oh, fuck yeah. You know, on one occasion, I was asked to go in for a blood test. When I saw the results, I was horrified. There was an amazing amount of blood in my caffeine. It's just wrong. Now, I'm just going to move to bin over. That's where I'm going to put it. Since I moved here, I haven't had a bin conveniently positioned near the modelling area / my work desk. Haven't worked out where to put it. Now I have. Convenient that. Now, in we come. And round you chappies come. Hi, cutie. How are you doing? Now, this mess here is not as messy as it looks. As a quick little aside, what I was doing last night, prior to the arrival of my guitarist, who I had some dins with last night, is I was actually getting a bit more organisation, though it may not look like that, into our Mustangs situation, because I might as well finish this off now. I'm going to finish this off now. This one's pretty much now sealable. There was 2 kits in here. I had this box here and that box there and parts that belonged. Yeah. So what I figured, put that up there, because then if I want to go and do that kit at some stage, I know where it is. I don't know what it is. Now, this is a lot of the stuff out of the P-51B that we will not be using. Some of it, though, is possibly worth keeping on hand. Now, the rest of this, I shall put, because I think I've taken out all the stuff from it that I was interested in. Because there are bits in here that I am interested in. And then this box will be the one we use for, now I want to put this somewhere a bit more. This is going to be our P-51D box, where I can get access to this, because I might keep some of this around for the P-51B that is on its way. So before I do have one on its way. Where I'll put this for the time being. Actually, I know what I'll do. For the time being, it's still going to be a little disorganized around these parts. So hang on a moment, what's happened there? That's these ones. Okay, yep, fine. Yep, all good in the hood. Yep. Alrighty. Now, and interesting. These are I thought I'd put this part on, the P-51B, and I hadn't. I was looking for one for quite a while. That's irrelevant to anything anyway. Do I want to keep that for... No, I don't. I'll keep it to see if it's useful for the other P-51B that's coming. All right. Now, is there anything else here that needs to be lobbed into this? And then because ultimately this is going to be put away somewhere, what that I deem logical in the short term there will do us. Oh, hello. Yeah, I'm good, thanks, cutie guy. Ronald, how are you doing, man? When I was a young lad, up to about the age of about certainly my early teens, I actually had an English accent because it was something I picked up off my family. I don't think it was particularly strong, and these days you wouldn't pick it. But yeah, when I was, like I said, when I was quite young, and I actually had people ask, "Are you English?" I said, "Well, no, you know, here's how this rolls." Okay, the other P-51s that I got coming. Actually, I've got an original, the original North American Mustang before it was really the P-51, and it was mostly used for reconnaissance. Yes, the North American Mustang Mark One, I think it is, or it might be a Mark Two, and that's an Italeri, and as such, I can feel fairly secure in my mind that it will be a worthwhile kit. Now, this is more P-51B stuff. Now, all of this can go into here, be damned. The P-51B is Academy. And the twin Mustang I have coming is by a company I've never heard of. What was is das? It's not. I'm going to hear fully and tenuously. I'll put that over with the 109 stuff. Yeah, it is from a company I've never heard of called Idea. Now, as to are there any chop? Who knows? I've got literally no idea. Okay, that's that cleared and organised to some extent. Oh, hey Jeff, how are you doing, man? Yeah. Anyway, so but the twin Mustang I'm getting. We'll just get this shit out of the way. Now we're going to need that. I doubt we'll have time for that, but we'll pop it to the side anyway. Yes, we will. Yeah, but when I saw the twin Mustang, it was quite affordable. And that was the big winner for me. The magical word, affordable. When I was looking, because I knew that Monogram / Revel had done. Now, as a quick little aside, the reason I've kept the P-51B decals, or some of the tech decks and the assembly sheets out, is I'm going to see, because some of the decals that went on to some of the interior stuff in the cockpit were replicated. I'm thinking this might be a good opportunity to do a bit of snafflage as a bit of fleshing out on our current kit. That's a plan. Anyway, yeah, sometimes life will do that. What's the Jeff? What's the line? Life is what happens when you're making other plans. I believe that was John Lennon, and it's quite a valid statement. That's why I put that there. Anyway, yes, I'm going to see about if we can find suitable decals to flesh out the cockpit sides from here. That's a plan. Meanwhile, all of this, so we can keep that out as well. Might want to find the other one of these, I reckon. Give me a moment. Gee, hang on. Hang on. What was that from the P-51B? That was from the P-51B. I do not need to assemble that. No, I do not. Jolly good. Or find the other one, wherever it is, wherever it has roamed. Now, and that can go for the time being to there. Mustang situation organized. Yeah, I'm kind of, when I think about the twin Mustang, I want to do one, because to me that's a big enough oddity to make it totally worthwhile. The Dutchman's Wood Shack. Nice. Yeah, Woodworks. Interesting stuff. I'm not much chop at it myself, but my brother, well, he's no good at it now on account of him being dead. But yes, I get a little harsh on occasion. But more's the point. He was very good at woodwork. He had gone the extra mile and actually taken proper classes in it. Not for a job, but just he enjoyed it. And yeah, he could do some very nice stuff. I'm not sure what tool. He'll ask the cash for the tools. Here we go, boys and girls. Now. All right, so we can. Right, there's 3 here we can snaffle. That's already on there. We're putting that part on. There's another one, hopefully. Let's see what we find here. Yep, some of these potentially. Maybe. Right, what I need to do next. We're not going to be doing that today. I just wanted to have a check at that, and then I'll show you on the whatchamacallit. Yes, the whatchamacallit. I'll give you a zoom in on the assembly sheet so you can see what I'm of the P-51B, so you can see what we're going to add to your workers' woodwork, Ronald. Interesting. Actually, here's an interesting one for you with wood, on the topic of wood and models. I don't know if I've mentioned it before on at least one or even a few streams, and you may have been on one where I already made mention of this, but before, because Airfix only came out after World War II, I think it was. They were one of the first to produce scale models, I seem to recall, was the drill. Well, they were the only ones, obviously, but I think they're one of the first. And before that, people used to still make them. They just did them, with various things. My grandfather apparently used to use a lathe. He was quite a handyman, and what am I doing now? That's what I'm doing. I'm having a look at. This is printed really small. I need to have a zoom in with goggles just to see the shit. And you know what, gentlemen? I believe we're in luck. Indeed, I will go a step further for you. We are in luck. On the front of using these are pretty much all the decals for the side of the cockpit and the battery area. And that, in my eyes, is a score. Anyway, getting back to the thing. But yeah, my grandfather used to make model aircraft on a lathe. painted them appropriate. Obviously they weren't exact, and he knew what aircraft he wanted to make, like he'd make a Spitfire or whatever. I'm not sure what scale or how he measured, but he was an engineer, so he wouldn't have been entirely clueless in such matters. Well, he's a fitter and turner, but yes, I've waxed lyrical about that before. There's question what he actually worked on during the war. Who the hell knows? Because he used to get some interesting visitors after. Ceramic nose cones and missiles apparently was the topic of discussion. Now. Next, good people. What I want to get stuck into first, this. Now, I'm actually thinking of using two different blacks, believe it or not. And you're going to be going, you sure you're not getting a little pedantic there, big boy? Yes. Yes, I am. Now, and the difference I'm going to do, I reckon, is I'm going to use this, do the floor, a standard black. I should have done those interior green, but there's plenty of time for that. This area back here, chassis black, because that's more mechanical sort of stuff. All right, that's my theory. I forgot to give you the zoom in as to what I'm going to do with the decals. All right, guys, here's how this rolls. Give me a moment. Now, if that's you guys get a bit of a, here we go. Now you'll notice, where is the decal? Boom. There's a number of decals we can put on these, that I put on these parts. If I've got the other that correspond to, and indeed, where else can I show you? Okay, so obviously there's these parts here. Now that corresponds to, give me a moment. Boom. I will need, grab that. Those parts. So we can certainly use some of the decals for that. So we might as well. In the other side of the equation, and there's more decals indeed, but be that as it may, you get the idea. There's options on that. Here we go. Here we go. Right, now, this is the, moment, starboard side of the cockpit. And we have those decals that we can also put in. So we're gonna. There is some painting for us to do, so we're going to do that too, but you know. We've already got that ready to rock and or roll. Oh, hey, Sakura, how you doing? Oh, hang on. Sorry, I missed a few things here. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. Yeah, Ronald, my grandfather, he wanted to go, his brothers and, now on the other side of the cockpit, by the way, guys, we have only a few bits, because most of them are on this bit that we're actually going to stick on anyway. I'll give you a zoom in. Focus, there we go. And there's a few things we can do here. So we've got decals, some decaling we can do as well. That'll make it a very cool sort of, we'll have salvaged what we can from the P-51B, and away we go. Anyway, yeah, my grandfather had wanted to go to war because his brothers and his friends had gone. But I believe it was that he was 31. The cutoff age for conscription was, I believe, 32. He had a child, and they viewed that, or were of the opinion that his skills were more useful on the home front as far as supplying the troops than having him on the front line. And now that's jet black. I don't want jet black. That's good. I can do the chassis black. Now I want standard black, which would be anyway. And yeah, that's where he ended up working from 1942 to I think 1965 as the lead non-scientific hand in the experimental division of a crucible company. And that's why I raised an eyebrow at black. Him being visited where his only qualification was actually fitter and turner, being visited after the war by people for ceramic nose cones for missiles. What was he actually working on during the war? Fuck, you know. Anyway, but I'm sure there's we've all got quite a few. I need that. That's the seat I'm going to be using. A few members of the family who have done or did various things during the war that are interesting. That's mine. One of the more curious things that, or apparently, this is during the time when the wolf packs were running rampant through the Atlantic, and there was a machine that was being sent from the US or Canada, basically that side of the world, that was absolutely crucial to the war effort. So important was this machine. 2 were sent in case one didn't get past the wolf packs. In separate ships, obviously. And probably in separate convoys. Anyway, one did get sunk en route. Obviously, one gets through. The inherent problem, apparently, however, wow. Yeah, the song was pretty brutal. I don't know what. I remember seeing the stats. It was. I don't know that much about World War One. I do know that names like Somme and Passchendaele are little more than meat grinder stuff. Just horrifying. Anybody who says both my great-grandfather's on my mother's side went to the trenches, got gassed. Yeah. My mum used to tell me this kind of funny. It is funny. She reckons that she'd be, when she was a kid, she'd be, she was going somewhere with certainly one of her grandfathers. If ever there was a bomb sort of like thing, that, oh, the Huns did that. The Huns. You know, that's such an old school term, but I mean, bear in mind it was the term in its time. But yeah, funny. I think by then the Brits had moved on to Krauts or Jerry's. Oh, yeah, right. Wow, that's interesting, man. Yeah, some pretty. Let's not be shy, gentlemen and ladies and others. There's no real nice way to dress up a lot of what happened in either, in fact, any war. I believe it falls very broadly under the spectrum of that's some full-on fucked up nasty shit. That's about as nice as you can word it. If you're going to be quite candid about this, yeah, nasty stuff. I can't, and it's actually quite sad that we still see it going. All that sort of stuff. No one's learned. Centuries, millennia of this shit. Has anyone learned? No. No. Why would you want to learn that there are perhaps better ways than just what ultimately ends up in mass killing for short term? Again, a couple of 100 years. Really? Really? What are these people thinking? Now, what I want to do with this one is we're going to be doing our standard black for the floor here. Now, yeah, they do. That was one of the reasons why. Let me move you a bit closer. Anybody who was gassed did suffer problems for the rest of their life, and that's one of the reasons why I believe after World War One there was a. I'm not quite sure when somebody else might be able to answer this one for me. I'm not quite sure when the Geneva Conventions came in, but if they'd come in prior to World War One, they were a stipulation was added that to avoid the use of chemical weapons, because that's what they were deemed to be, quite validly, chemical weapons. Because of things. Now, as we all know, yeah, that sort of doesn't always apply now, does it? We all know how the games are played. And these days they can do a whole lot worse than just mere chemical. But yeah, and I believe that's why you didn't see, whilst there was concern of use of gas, that's why it wasn't a thing in World War II, I believe, was the drill. Afghanistan, there's another place where there's no fun to be had. I thought it was a bad idea for anyone. Well, I'm of the opinion, because Afghanistan has been the graveyard of many armies over the centuries. The only country to ever actually take it properly, and even then only for a little while, was the Mongols. And apparently, if you see an Afghani who looks Asian, and some of them do, they're the ones with a higher percentage of Mongol blood. Now, hang on a moment. There we go. Anyway, but yeah, let's face it, it didn't work out so well for the Brits, although some of that I believe was a bit of failure in command. And didn't work out well for the Soviets. Didn't work out well for the Yanks. And so it goes. Yeah, I heard that that going into did you see? Oh, hang on. I'm missing a few bits here. I have to go back and scroll up. Excuse me a moment. Oh, hello. Juno. Whoa. Wow. There's some. Okay. That's interesting about them. Yeah. A lot of people do that, Ryan. There's a lot of. They've had to deal with some pretty nasty shit. And they don't really Malta during World War II. Yeah, dearie me, Governor. There's another. Yeah. A lot of it is they've had to do things that they have difficulties with, and it's quite traumatic for them. And yeah, it's quite common that they don't really want to talk about it, and I totally get that. They would have seen things like their good friends die next to them. You know, that would do things to you. And it wouldn't just be a clean death now, would it? So, yeah, pretty understandable, really. Yeah, pretty fair call there, Ronald. I think you're playing a very wise card there. Yeah. I mean, I can only liken it to mild in comparison, though it is. I actually find, or used to find, the attitude of some people towards some of the shit I used to have to deal with as a bouncer, which sometimes got very fucking full on. And you get these young dickheads coming up to you and say, "Oh, how do I get a job as a bouncer, mate? Looks pretty easy. All you got to do is stand around and smash someone." And you just look and say, "Do you think that sounds real fucking easy, little man? You don't know nothing." So if that's what it is for me, fuck knows what those poor bastards have been through. I'm only on the tiniest end of the scale that any combat veterans ever see. So they've got some big demons. Rabbit, yeah, that's perfectly fair. Yeah, my grandparents told me about the war as well. It was very insightful. Yeah, look, it doesn't hurt to do that when you go out, Ronald, and it certainly doesn't hurt to. And of course, the other big rule, of course, is just keep your nose clean, play nice. I don't understand why people cannot manage that when they go out. Why would you go out and get into a fight? Why? What is the point of this? Yeah. Now, but yeah, getting back more to the combat veterans, yeah, they're pretty. Some of what would have even the. I mean, you think. I used to think that the air war would, in some ways, wouldn't have been so bad, aside from the being killed factor, for want of a. But nah, apparently, if you're on a bomber thing, aside from the stress of being shot at and all the rest, which would be pretty horrifying or pretty frightening, yeah, it wasn't unknown for limbs to hit screens and stuff. And you think about that, you're flying along and an arm hits that's going to fuck with your head. Wise move, Ronald. If ever I go out, which I haven't done for many years now, but if I get to a point where a bouncer turns to me and says, "No, mate, you've had too much to drink," my take is, I reckon he's right. I will usually say that to them. "That messy, am I, mate?" And they'll say, "Yep." And I'll say, "Well, I'm going home." Or I'll go off and get something to eat. Where when I walk in, the security guard there, if there is one, will usually look at me with a degree of nervousness because I'm probably bigger than he is. And I may share a joke with him to make him feel a bit better about the world. And then order my food, make no problems, and leave. Now, that's this area almost done. Now we'll go on to the chassis black. And then I would like very much to do some work on the wheel well. There's a lot to that in actuality. But we'll need to see how we're traveling on getting this done. This is our key area at the moment here, and the side of the cockpit are the key areas to be done today. Because once they're done, it's decal time. Dun, 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 dun. Ooh. Sorry. Anyway, ooh. Churchill was a cunt. Let's not be shy, guys. It's look, he was. My mum actually put it quite well. She said, "Look, he wasn't a well-liked leader, but he was the leader that the UK needed at that time." She reckoned that my grandmother hated him, but would always listen to his speeches. And the mere fact that, or an indication of how unpopular he actually was, I believe, can be found in seen in the fact that he lost the 1945 election. Had he been popular, no, he won the one after a while after that. Yeah, look, Churchill's got a lot to answer for. And one can argue, a cogent argument at that he, along with quite a few others, could, in modern world, if the whole history wasn't written by the victors, yada yada yada, rah rah. Excuse me while I get some paper towel. Could have been had up for had Germany won the war. Ridiculous supposition, in truth, when you think about it, because they didn't. Story ends. Had they, you could certainly suggest that the bombing of Cologne, I believe, was one that could be deemed a war crime in modern terms. And I think just the general 1,000 bomber raid thing was something that was racist. Hell yeah. Look, there's now the one thing I would say, and don't get me wrong, I don't sanction racism of any kind because I think it's fucked. And one of the things I actually respect South Africa for as a nation was the fact that they addressed that in what is a really mature way that a lot of nations couldn't. That's a whole other matter. Anyway, but to be fair to Churchill, in that era, racism was pretty casual. nobody batted an eyelid about a whole stack of, just watch that down, of stuff that these days just would not fly. And given the fact he was a Tory, yeah, of course he was racist. But he was Machiavellian. That probably covers it, actually. That was his, certainly something you could, yeah. Now, one thing you can also bear in mind with that, I mean, here we go. Consider the following. A mate and I once watched, I should finish it off, the part of the Dam Busters movie. We watched, I think, the first half. Anyway, and just on that first half, we saw a number of things that had us going, oh dear, oh my, dearie, dearie me. And not the least of which, oh, hey, Jeff, how you doing? Was there's a scene where Lancaster lands and can't remember who they got playing Guy Gibson, but he comes to the and as the Lancaster lands, there's this RAF dude holding back this black Labrador, and as the Lanc comes to a stop, and the door opens and the Guy Gibson figure is there, he calls out to the dog's name. N-bomb, shall we say. And boom. And that was indeed the name of the dog. And nobody thought there was anything wrong with that back in the day, or indeed when the movie was released in the 1950s. I believe in recent times they've actually changed the name of the it can be frustrating at times. Yeah, well, it did actually get changed. But yeah, just seeing that anyway. Time as the movie, so we got our noggin around that easily enough because of era stuff like that. But it would appear that, shall we say, the dog of color, I guess that's as good as I can come out with, was perfectly acceptable for him to be given a beer or two down at the pub. And you think, so right, by modern standards, what we have here is racially vilifying terms, animal cruelty. Where does the yeah, well, that's the deal, isn't it, man? You'll get back onto it in time, Jeff, I'm sure. See you, Ronald. Should be enough, actually. So, yeah. It was interesting, and that is something that is actually interesting to check out when you look at the way, or when something is produced or released, often the stuff that goes with I don't actually see much point in doing that, to be honest, Brian. In terms of when you look at a historical event, a lot of the time, if you try to apply contemporary mores to it, you're really losing context. Don't get me wrong, a lot of what used to fly, however many hundreds, 50, whatever. No. But here we go. There's a thing where, and it happened not just in Australia, but it happened in a whole stack of colonized nations where Indigenous kids were taken away from their parents to be raised in a good white manner. Geez, that's a bit scary, isn't it? Now, it caused a whole stack of issues, a lot of trauma, horribly wrong. However, that's easy to say with retrospect. Now, yes, it was wrong. Yes, apologies. Things need to be done to fix that as best you can. But the reality is, was it done with intended positive in mind? What I'm saying, do they think they were doing the right thing? If they thought they were doing the right thing, well, you can hardly blame the people who inflicted if they thought they were doing good. Oh, you're right, Jeff. And that's the thing. It's very easy to judge an act as bad or good. But the most important thing I think people need to consider is, what was the intent? I mean, granted, a good intent can have a really bad outcome, hence the biblical phrase that I'm rather a fan of: the way to hell is paved with good intention. And it is too. See you, Jeff. And I think we've all had that experience. So, looking at historical events and applying modern moralities to it often does not make sense. There's also the reality, of course, of a lot of the time, well, shit, it's real easy from the sideline, isn't it? When you're dealing with some of the decisions, it's very easy to go, oh, well, I'll do this. When we've got hindsight, different perspectives, all that sort of caper. Yeah, look, it's a complex. I think a lot of people view it in very such matters in very simplistic terms, There is a governor of, now here we go. When what were called the letters patent was set up for the establishment of Australia as a penal colony for the UK, one of the things, because it was noted by Captain Cook, who I believe, I'm not sure if it was him who discovered Canada as well, but be that as it may. Canada had been discovered as part of the expansion of, anyway, point being, or whether he ever sailed to Canada. Point being that when the letters were set up, it was noted that the rights and all the rest of it, that basically the people who lived there beforehand should have their land management and stuff respected. It was a thing, actually stated. Now that was changed in 1800 and something, and bearing in mind the colony was first set up in 1788 by a guy with a surname, I can't remember his first name, but Macquarie. And what he did, and in my opinion, where a lot of people throw crap at the whole thing, is Macquarie's doing a thing that actually caused what was ultimately the genocide of the Aboriginal people. He said that the land was that's where if you've ever heard the term terra nullius, which is to say, well, there's nobody who lives there, just do as you see fit, and basically was prepared to have the Aboriginal people listed as savages. Now that is the point where you can start going, now, you know what, man? Nah, I can see why there's issues with him. But a lot of the other stuff, as I say, what was the intent? Was it good? If the intent was good, there's limits to how upset people should be. Might have failed to be good in its outcome, but try to understand what the objective was, you know? That's just my take on it. Yeah. And I'm sure that in different countries there are similar tales to be going around. Interestingly, on the topic of racism, it's interesting that certainly you can also find that a lot of the, depending, not all, but certainly some of the Allied pilots had some very interesting views on race. Certainly Douglas Bader did. He had, I think it was when what is now Zimbabwe was going through, post-war was getting a bit rowdy, to say the least, with regards to the native population wanting its rights. Or it might have been South Africa. But when asked his thoughts, and he said, well, if I want, basically it was that, I wouldn't want a black man having say of what I do. That was the nuts and bolts of his attitude. You think, dear Lord. That's a bit rumpty. Now, some of the German pilots here, no comment. Particularly guys like Rudel, let's face it, card-carrying Nazi and involved in the rat lines. Yeah, I think the guy would have had a few racial attitudes. So, yeah. Now, we come across here. We'll do it this way. What was that? Just heard something go click or clunk randomly. Yeah. And then now, that's actually coming out quite well. Starting to see there's a spot where I need to do a touch up, but whatever. This stuff dries reasonably quickly. What I might do, and I might even do a short stream later on today, where I just do the tidy ups, because there's going to be a few little ones, and then if I get all the tidy ups done, we can do all the deckling tomorrow, and that would be cool. And I don't think the tidy ups would take more than an hour in truth. Hang on, do it on a stream? Maybe not. It would depend on a few things. Because I've got German tonight and massage this afternoon. The reason it's got to wait is because this will need to dry a bit first for a couple of the touch-up points. And also, if I wait, I can finish all the detailing here in general. Let me think. Yeah, I know when I could do one. Probably. Ooh, that was lucky. Got a bit clumsy with my brush and hit the actual surface with black. And fortunately, it didn't go anywhere I didn't want it to. Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, if I wait till about 3 o'clock, that's my time here. I should be able to get all this touched up, ready to rock and roll for tomorrow. I'd probably only need to be on for about an hour or so. I think I'm going to do that. Yes, I do. Not quite sure who will be up and about. Because in 7 hours, it'll be the wee small hours of the morning for people in Europe and the UK and Africa, and late evening for those in the Americas. Late evening's okay though, I think. If it's 5 for you now, Brian, 7, it'll be 12. Although, you're in Montreal, so that's more on the east coast, isn't it? Or eastern area. It's not on the coast, but in the east. So, I must make it 10 for those on the west coast. Be okay for people in New Zealand, Asia. Might be better off just doing it in my own time. We shall see what I think. I will use what's called the time zone map application that I have. Yes, I shall. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, is that, you see, and the other thing about it is at that time of the day over here, most people are actually, don't get me wrong, there are obviously people who work at different hours as I used to, and people who don't work like I don't now. But in actuality, 3 o'clock, kids are at school, teenagers are at school, a lot of people are at work. Odds of getting a number of viewers, maybe. But you can see what I'm saying. I might just be better served to go, I'll just do it on my own time. That way I can do other stuff, and even just do, because there's a few colours that I'll be doing, do a spot here and a spot there sort of a thing. As long as I get it done, it will make my life a lot easier overall. Well, that's true. That is a good point. I could always do that, bearing that in mind, that people can always watch later. They don't have to watch live. That is the joy of YouTube and indeed other streaming platforms. So it stays there and people can watch it later. Yeah. All right. Very soon, I'll be able to give you a zoom in on this one, guys. Yeah, I'm pretty happy with how that bracket's starting to come up. That I sort of painted in yesterday, I think. It's going to look good in the final analysis. There we go. Alrighty. Once I've done the area with the bracket, I'll give you a zoom in, and then I'll finish the rest of this color. Then I'll show you where we're at. That's what I'll do. Now, across there. Oops. Again, it's just one of those little touches, but it is coming together. And it's been a little tricksy. Oops. All right. Starting to come together, peeps. Oh. I don't think he's actually going to bed, David. He's just saying if I were to do a stream at 3 o'clock my time, he'd be asleep. Which I would expect because it would be roughly, well, wait, if it's 5 now, it would be at least, so it would be around 12 o'clock, midnight, when I'm starting for him. So yeah, I would completely understand that he might be asleep. Hell, yeah, I'll go to sleep. It's very early to me. 10 o'clock's late. Yeah, I might have, pretty sure I would have mentioned that when I stopped doing night shift, I decided I was going to get proper healthy sleep. And I sort of figured that, well, animals in the natural environment go to sleep pretty early and they get up pretty early. Maybe there's something to that. That's what I do. I figure if that's the natural cycle, why would you change that? Now, give me a moment. I've almost finished this big block. I'll give you a zoom in. There we go. More. There we go. Now I might want to give this brush a freshen up as well. Actually, I might even change brushes. Now, there are a couple of touch-ups, but That is starting to come together, I tells you. Now, hey, Dirtzik, how you doing? Oh no, wait, you. Yeah. 14 hours between Adelaide and Montreal. Ah, that's interesting. So, I can actually do maths. Oh, my Lord. Yeah, no, that would make it very early in the morning for you. If I'm going on at, and you're behind us, 1 in the morning. And that's a starting time. Oh, 11, yeah. Although I've now been on for a bit over an hour at least. So, yeah, as a starting time, though, it's starting to it'll be getting a bit rumpty. I am indeed in the future. Yeah. Give me a moment. Yeah, I'll stick with this brush. Now, I was going to give you a quick zoom in. Here we are. Use that little backing thing so that you get a better view. And actually, that's probably a good angle. So you can see we're starting to get the bracket to come up. Hang on, if I missed a spot there. Oh no, that's actually a thing that comes up off of the side there. But yeah, you can see how we've got the bracket making an appearance. Under that, we've got our colours coming through. So yeah, I'm actually kind of liking how that's looking now. Now, a bit more in this colour. $6.36. Yeah. So all these different time zones, people. Might have to put some fresh paint in that. Where's the where do I put? Bam. Quick shake. It's a quick shake, a fast running Arab leader. Sorry, that was terrible. No, it wasn't. It wasn't that bad, actually. As you saw on the topic of fast-running Arab leaders, I saw a very interesting presentation this morning on YouTube by a guy who's a professor in strategic. Well, I can't remember the full thing is, but yeah, anyway. And he was discussing whether or not Israel was actually in a position to turn its current military dominance over Iran to any significant political or strategic benefit in the long term. And the answer was probably not. And he said, yes, they have certainly got the advantage at the moment, and that's all well and good. But turning it into something more meaningful in the long term is got a lot of issues. Yeah, it was interesting. Because he explained that where they have hit a lot of nuclear sites, the ones that are probably related to, analysts reckon the ones that are relating to nuclear weapons are probably undamaged and still deep underground. So they've probably not actually achieved their objectives in that regard. Unless they continue, which is only going to, yeah, it was just a whole stack of very interesting points that made you go, yeah, it's not as easy as all that, is it? I believe there's a quote from one of Hannibal's generals. Have to have been somebody pretty close to him, because it's a bit in your face as a remark. But the line is, "You know how to secure a victory, Hannibal, not how to use one." And that could be the problem facing. In fact, that was pretty much what the problem is. That look, they're in a strong position now, but the inherent problem comes with what now? And given that they've extended themselves in various areas, it made for interesting speculation for someone who's interested in geopolitics and things of that ilk. Can't actually remember the guy's name. I have subscribed to his channel though, so as I've seen his stuff before, and it is interesting and quite insightful and balanced. That's the key one for me. It's not like it's bordering on hysterical propaganda. It's sensible appraisal of the situation. So yes, thought I'd share that with you. Obviously. Now, this one I'm going to go here first. There we go. Do this side. There's a fair bit too, just this little area here. Now, I shall there's a little, I'm not quite sure what it does, to be honest. But there's a thing here that needs, there we go. All right. Now, all right. So, next. Now comes the tricky part. Into there. after this I might need to use a new brush to get into some of the smaller stuff up here. And I reckon I will, in fact. Just come down there. Can use this brush for a bit more, and then I'm going to go for a fresh one to finish up the very top here on those. That's going to require a bit of delicate work. So yeah. Delicate and precise work. Now, there we go. Oh, and I can do that part there too. All right, getting down to business, I tells you. I didn't get as much done as I thought I would on this stream. I have made some very significant progress. As I said, I'll just go for a short stream a bit later on to get it all done and finished, I reckon. Because a lot of that will be like spot here, spot there, spot here, spot there. And as such, it can be done quite quickly. And there we go. All right. Whew. Now, we come into there. Good. All right, clean this brush, get another one out, and then we can just do this top area there. And that'll be us done for certainly this morning. But I will give you a zoom in on what we have done. And I can see from here the brush I'm going to be using, I reckon. Although I have a couple of options on this front. All right. That's better. Now, let's see. Is this one all good to go? Yeah, baby. Okay, so yes, I wouldn't mind just there we go. Now, There's like little caps that I'm trying to keep clear, and they're very, very small. Now, here comes the really tricky part on this one. Actually, now that I think about this, what I should have done first. See if I can get this. There we go. Yeah. All right. Now, next. All right, getting there with this one. This is the trickier of the two. So yeah, it's a thing. This is going to be a little more tricksy than the other. The other one is comparatively easy, I would suggest. But yeah, gonna have to be a bit of touch-up work to get the cap thing going on them. But that's okay. All right. Gonna be curious to see it under full magnification. Anyway, be that as it may. All right. Not so good, but never mind. All right. I'll clean the brush and then I'll give you a zoom in. I have to do a bit of tidy up work on that, I would suggest. But that's okay. Yes, it is. Now, delete. And I will just yoink, split. Bam. Now, all right, from the top. So what I've tried to do, with limited success, unfortunately, is keep these caps on these. Where's it? Focus. There we go. Some of them will come up clear, but yeah, I'll tidy up these a bit and make them look a bit nicer on the caps and stuff. You can see the frame that it's all on quite nicely. That's largely only going to require a couple of touch-ups. Our floor area, maybe a little in the zinc chromate, but that needs to be interior green. Beyond that, that isn't looking too horrible. So I think we did all right on that front. Now, I'm going to wind the stream up for the time being. Well, for now. And I reckon I will... let me just get that. Might as well as do a fairly short one later this afternoon, just to get those touch-ups done. I mean, we're talking about probably 9 spots of red, a spot of interior green, that little area at the front of interior green. And I think that's it. Does it even merit a stream? Fuck. Probably not, actually. In which case, I'll just get that done and dusted in my own time, and I shall. Glad you enjoyed it, Bassman. And yeah, so what I'm thinking is I'll actually just wait. Well, I'll wait till tomorrow to come back and we'll get onto the deckling. I'll get that shit done later today. Now the thing about it's probably only going to take 20 minutes. Probably not worth the strain. Alrighty. So, thank you for watching, everybody. I do appreciate it. Any first-time viewers out there, you know what I'm going to suggest you do. Follow, like, or subscribe. Glad you enjoyed it, Brian. Now, tomorrow, I forgot to talk about other platforms. I'm Rob the Builder on Facebook and YouTube. I'm Robster the Builder on Instagram and Twitch. And I'll be back tomorrow. Yes, I will. Tomorrow is Thursday here. And I will be, well, as I outlined earlier, back on, well, that is true. Oh, especially with modeling, isn't it? Actually, before I go, I'll tell you a quick funny story. I started seeing this chick years ago, and at the time I was doing some modeling, and then I said to her, you want a cup of tea? And this is like when you're in bed. I was like, hey, that'd be nice. Scooch off, and when I've got the kettle going, I've got stuff brewing, I thought, I'll just do a couple of stripes here and there, while I'm waiting. So that's set up on the kitchen table. And eventually I'm doing a bit of painting, and suddenly she appears next to me. Is that tea coming, is it? I'm there. Yeah. I don't know how long I've been, but I've been a while. Anyway, I'll be back tomorrow. And we're going to get onto the deckling of that interior area. And we're going to make it a bit pretty and a bit special. We are. Yes. Yes, we are. Alrighty. So all that's really left now is my pleasure, David. For me to say that I'll be back tomorrow at a similar kit time and on the same kit channel. Hopefully I'll catch you good people then. See yous.